Greetings to all of humanity. It's really a joy, it's a pleasure, it's my honor to be out in my backyard and greeting you, bringing this message of emancipation to you. This message whereby I'm pointing you to look inwardly to discover that your real identity is your divinity. So I'm always pointing you to look inwardly, not outwardly. And that is why I want to speak to you concerning how to believe in your imagination, which is actually the creator in man. So before I go any further, I want to let you know the basis of my teaching. Now, the basis of my teaching is that the Bible addresses the human mind and must be interpreted psychologically. That the Bible is not literal, neither is it secular history. And that the Bible was written symbolically, and it have no reference to anyone that existed thousands of years ago or to any actual event that took place on earth thousands of years ago. From Genesis 1 to Revelation 22, it's all a great psychological drama. It all have to do with the human psyche. Therefore, everything that was done in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, it was first a thought. It was first mental. It was first psychological. So it is not literal. For if it was literal, those who believe in a sky god, they would have to do literal things to prove what I am saying, that I am wrong. So for example, they would have to cure everyone who has the coronavirus. They would have to turn water into wine. And I have a book called How to Turn Water into Wine. They would have to do it literally. And they would have to walk on the water literally. Also to prove that what I am saying, that I am wrong. So my brother and my sisters, let us look at St. John 1 and 3, which is teaching us how to trust our imagination. Now, it says in St. John 1 that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the same was in the beginning with God. Then it says all things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. Now let us take our time and understand the secret of creation that's been taught to us right there. Now, the first thing you have to understand is that who is God? Many people refer to God as He and Him, and they put agenda to God. But when you look more deeply, you come to realize that everyone who speaks about God, that they first have to have a thought. And everything that has been written about God was first a thought. So the Bible was first a thought. The Bible first mental, first psychological. No one can write a book unless it was first a thought. No one can say they've been inspired and it wasn't first a thought. So everything takes place within. Everything exists in the human imagination, which is God in man. So when I speak of God and I have to define God, I define God as my imagination, as your imagination. Now, let us look at a word. What is a word? A word is a thought expressed. Every time I speak to you, I'm expressing my thought. Every time a preacher speaks to you, he's expressing his thoughts. So he's teaching you that everything begins with a thought. And that thought is invisible. And God is invisible. And there is only one invisible substance. There's only one invisible presence. And that invisible presence is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. That is why wherever you are, God is there, because God is your imagination. That is why you're told, anyway that the sole of your feet shall tread, it will be given unto you, because wherever you can go in your imagination, you can actually go there physically. Whatever you can accomplish in your imagination, you can actually accomplish it physically, or in this 3D world, this three-dimensional world. Because we're here trapped in time, space, and matter. Our body is a slave to our mind. And we're born in this world in a state called amnesia, which is a state of forgetfulness. So we have to come to a place of remembrance. And it says that the Holy Spirit shall bring all things into your remembrance. When you have the upper room experience, and the upper room experience is speaking of the highest place of consciousness, the highest place of your existence, coming to your Christ self, your higher self, and knowing that all things that were made, that they were first imagined, and everything else that ever going to be made must first be imagined. Now many refer to God as the creator, and they believe in one God. Hear ye, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God, and Israel mean to rule as God. Now everyone believes that there is one God, that there is one creator. Therefore there is only one creative power. And that creative power is the power of what? Imagination. There is no action that can take place on this earth that wasn't first a thought. So anyhow you look at the Bible, if you're honest with yourself, you would realize it's a book of mind science. You would realize that it is your spiritual autobiography, teaching you how to think wisely. That's why you are told that whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are pure, to think on these things. That is why you're also told not to be conformed to the thinking of this world. How they want to have you to believe in a God outside of yourself, or a power outside of yourself. But to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, teaching you that transformation or change can only take place within your mind, from within. So when you change within, you will change without. So as above, so below, as it is within, so is it without. So you want to change your world, you want to change your surrounding, you want to change your environment. You have to change your inner environment first. So my brothers and my sisters, all changes take place within. Many people believe God to be their provider, and everyone uses money. Then we have to see how money was provided. We have to see how everything was provided. And when you see how everything was provided, you will realize it all starts from a thought to action to manifestation. Then you will realize that God is in everyone, and that we are connected with each other, and that there is one universal consciousness. So the rich man, the poor man, the beggar man, the thief is one mind, but just different arrangement of the same mind. So my brother and my sisters, to trust God is to trust your imagination. And when you trust your imagination, you'll be able to create your reality consciously. Because consciousness, which is the sense of being, is the only reality there is. The only thing that is real is the self of man. The life in you For God is life and life is God. You can never separate God from life or life from God. That's the only thing that is real. So there's only God in the world and there's no other. That is why in Deuteronomy 32:39 it tells you, I am God and there's no other. He said, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Teaching you that the devil is just your negative self. It's God upside down. So my brother and my sisters, everything has a positive and a negative. Everything has a polar opposite. So there are those who want you not to believe in yourself. They don't want you to believe in your imagination to be God. So they give you academic education and tell you that if you're going to be successful in life, you have to get good grades and get a good job. And so they create in you this employee mentality to trap you in the rat race to go more after the getting than the being. But when we look at academic education, we see the book, the pen, the pencil, the bench, the desk. We see all these things. They were false imagine. So instead of you putting your imagination first, you put the education over imagination. So it is you putting the creation over the creator. It is you putting the perception over the perceiver. But the perceiver was before the perception. The creator was before the creation. And everything that we depend upon in this world. It is the creation. But we are the creator. That is why a man is not the creature of circumstances. Circumstances are the creatures of man. You create them. And that is why man has created a God outside of himself. And those who get trapped with that God that they have created outside of yourself, you will all be bound in limitation and you will all be bound in mediocrity. But here there is a man here who can turn on the light to show you that there's a light within you. There's a switch and you got to turn on that switch. And when you turn on that switch, you come to realize that God is your own human imagination, the creator and man, and you have to trust your imagination by believing yourself, by embracing yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself just as you are. So my brother and my sisters, believe in your imagination, trust your imagination, because nothing can ever be created without it first be imagined. Take this message of self-realization that I am bringing to you and apply it in your life. Use your imagination of that which you so desire before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning. But remember that change is inevitable. You have to change your thinking first. You have to change the way you see the world. You have to look at the world from a different angle, knowing that everything you see around you, it's all an illusion. It's all imaginal. It was false thought. It was false imagine. Everything starts in the mind. The money comes from the mind. Don't think about the raw materials that were used. Think about the thought that was first invisible. Because when you have a thought, you can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't contact it by the five senses. But when you put action to that which you can't see and it manifests, then you understand what is true faith. You understand that when it says that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. The evidence of things not seen is your imagination is speaking about that is not seen. But when you put action to that which you do not see, it becomes the seen. The invisible become the visible. The word became flesh. And the Bible said now we handle him. Which means you can now contact your desire by the five senses. You can see it, you can taste it, you can touch it, you can smell it. You can do all of that. And then you come into what? The end of your creation. And you come into what? Sabbath. You come into the seventh day. And you're using what? You're using the elements of water, earth, wind, fire, and spirit Because you are a spirit having a human experience. And you're fulfilling the Genesis story, which is the same story in St. John 1. So my brother and my sisters, it's high time to wake up and trust your imagination to create your reality consciously. And even if you have family members who still trapped in secular Christianity and still looking outwardly and still believe in a man 2,000 years ago and still believe in a sky god, do not give up on them. When you learn to create your reality consciously and when you trust your own imagination as the creator in you, by first learning to change yourself, everything else will change. And you'll be able to influence them. You'll be able to make a statement to them. They would see the change, and that change will have an impact on them. So, my brother and my sisters, let me just end by saying this, that there's no one to change but self. Change yourself first, and your world will change. Everything around you will change. So with that being said, I want to thank you very much. I want to say to you, if you're listening to me for the very first time, and what I'm saying, it's really reaching out to you, it's resonating with you, then it is for you. And I would encourage you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe, to like, to comment, and to share this video. But before I leave you, I want to let you know that this message I bring to you, that it is a single eye message of self-realization, of which Matthew 6:22 says, if your eye be single, your whole body will be full of light. And my brother and my sisters, hadn't it been that single eye has awakened within me, whereby I experienced that great mighty shaking, and I awake from the dream of life as a fire being, and heard the unearthly wind, and ascend and high, and rolled the stone away, and came out, and realized that this body is the empty tomb in which the Christ is buried. My higher self, I would have been here bringing this message to you, saying to you to believe in yourself and to trust your imagination as the creator in everyone, and see God in everyone, and see everyone as your own self, being pushed out different version of yourself. And that's why I'm encouraging you also never to allow anyone to deceive you to believe that the symbol on the US dollar of the eye above the pyramid is an evil symbol. No, it is a symbol of the all-seeing eye of God in you, who is your own human imagination, the creator in man. For you, when you have the experience, you will experience an awakened imagination. And whatever you can imagine, it can become your reality. That is why I'll put my hand above my crown chakra, to show you that you will boss your crown chakra, and you come to realize that from your shoulder above, it's a pyramid, and from your shoulder to your waistline, it's a pyramid, and then from your waistline to the sole of your feet, it's a pyramid. And that you are the chi of life, and you have to eat from the chi of life by believing in the power within you, which is your imagination, the creator, God in man. That you are God residing in a house called the body. And you would come to realize the experience that you would experience. It is the rising of the S-U-N in a S-O-N, and that it is the dawning of a new day in your life. For the sun parallels the human imagination, and the human imagination parallels the sun. And for without the sun, there is no life and there is no light. And without the human imagination, there isn't anything made that was made. And you're told in Psalm 84:11 that the Lord thy God is a sun and a shield, and no good thing would he withhold from you. And the sun has never withheld any good thing from us. For the sun is what powers all of humanity. And in Malachi 4:2, you also told that the Son of righteousness shall arise in you with healing in his wings. And it is because of that experience of the Son, as in the S-U-N, have risen within me, that I am saying to you to use your mind power, which is your solar power, your sun power, your God power, your creative power, your sexual power, to achieve your every desire by trusting in your own human imagination to be God in man. So with that being said, I want to say peace, love you all, I'm out.